we came up with this idea to create a masterclass for ourselves because we wanted to go into the reality TV space, but we wanted to know what are the hacks, what are the ins and outs so that we can deliver really great programming for our audiences. We want to say thank you to our incredible sponsor, the Gauteng Film Commission, for making this webinar a possibility and supporting us in this initiative. And we want to say, okay. Apparently you guys can't see me, but on my side, I am perfect. So hopefully, can you see me now? Can everyone see me? Not yes, if you can see me. Okay, so I will continue. I would like to say thank you to our incredible sponsors, the Gauteng Film Commission, for making this webinar a possibility and a reality. Thank you for your support. We will have a bit of a technical break. Let me just take myself off of video. Okay. I don't know what to do. Thank you. All right. Everyone can see me. Everyone is happy. The technical gremlins will always come out and just be jealous of what I'm trying to do. So I'll just start all over again. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this very first of its kind webinar, The Business of Reality TV web series. Okay, I'm so sorry. Sorry, guys. My very sexy green screen was not allowing us to be, to be the sexy girls that we want to be, but it's fine. Like I was saying, welcome to this incredible webinar. We want to say thank you, first of all, to our beautiful sponsors, the Gauteng Film Commission, for making this webinar a reality. And we also want to say a big shout out to the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture for helping us to develop Love Unlocked, which is a gamified dating show I'm going to tell you a little bit about a little bit later. So we can say without a doubt that reality TV is the biggest format on South African screens, knocking out the previous champion, which was drama. People in South Africa clearly want to see their realities reflected back at them. They want to feel seen, they want to feel heard, and there's literally reality shows coming up every other day. It's why channels like Moja Love are so successful. And so today we'll be talking to two amazing humans about what we feel with the, sorry, Nomazi, please can you mute your microphone? And hi also. We'll be talking about what we feel is the engine behind any production, and more especially the reality TV format, producing. I can't stress enough. So we have two amazing guests today. We have Vuyoso Kupasoa, I hope I said that right, Vuyo, don't kill me, who is an executive producer at Bright Fire Productions. And then we also have Mpumla Mkhize, who is a commissioning editor from Zanzi Magic. So we have really great people. You're in for a treat. Where did this whole journey start and where did the concept come from? So we are Brainbow Conscious Creatives. We are a brand storytelling agency that uses storytelling elements to help our clients connect authentically, lovingly, and memorably to their audience or their target market. We use from story strategy to formatting, from TVCs to branded film. We are your brand story success story, basically. And so we are really passionate about building platforms, which is why in 2010, we were the first to host first African host to bring the 48-hour film project to African soil in 2010, where we gave platforms to creatives to make a film from script to screen in just 48 hours. A lot of people on this call are in the industry utilize that space to be creative and to fail forward. Okay, so so the pandemic came as a surprise for us, and we really, as a creative industry, we really didn't know how we were going to live in this new normal. And while we waited, we realized, especially when lockdown was happening, that people prioritized connecting, especially people who were single. And so we came up with this concept, Love Unlocked. Take a look.
Is here. Dating show that sets you up on 3 Zoom dates, and at the end, hopefully you will find one match. Let them follow begin.
All right, so I think we are going to jump straight into it. We're going to have Vuyo Sukupa, who has an amazing what's this panel discussion and presentation plan for us. Vuyo, over to you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I will just try and share my screen. I think you need to stop sharing, Kule, so that I can share. There we go. Okay. Let's see, presentation mode. There we go. Just 2 seconds. Allow. Everything that will go wrong always goes wrong, I guess, because we are talking about reality TV. There we go. Perfect. Okay, I hope everyone can hear me. So I'm going to try and share the little bit or the knowledge, I guess, that I've gained in the couple of years that I've worked in, or the extensive years that I've worked in the industry around producing for reality television. It is my favorite genre of television to produce. It is the most nerve-wracking, the most high adrenaline, but I think maybe I do enjoy it for those reasons. So just to begin, I think I'll probably start with the stuff that really is not the most important stuff, my background, so that you can maybe also know, as I go into the presentation, where I come from and the things that interest me. But anyway, I studied journalism and not necessarily didn't go to film school. So in that, I think it's very important to park and speak about that, because I think a lot of people that are in the industry, not everyone has to go to film school. I'm not knocking film school. I'm not saying it's not the place to be, but I just think that we have so many great people in the industry that have studied other things, and they bring such other different perspectives to the craft and the collaboration we do. And they don't necessarily have gone to film school. So I didn't go to film school particularly, but I studied journalism, which is also storytelling in its own way. When I then started in the TV industry, because I did work as a journalist for a year and a half, but when I moved over to television, I really did start at the bottom. And I think for me, that was really a great vantage point, because you're able to see the whole value chain, and you're like exposed, well, depending how inquisitive and interested you are, you're able to see everything, and you see how the wheel turns, that from this department to that department, from that function, how we all actually need each other, and you're able to go, oh, okay, so that person does this, and that's how it helps get the end product out. So for me, I always say to people when they're starting in the industry, please, always look up, have your eyes open, look up, look around, ask questions. What's that? Who's doing that? Why do they do it? Because I think in some ways you come into the industry thinking you want to do one particular thing, but you can get exposed to other divisions and functions that you weren't aware of. So I think for me, that's what helped me. I was able to go, oh, okay, I don't necessarily like being on set, not my favorite thing. So guess what? What do I like? Oh, I love content because storytelling, yet again. So I'll focus in the storytelling department. However, I was able to also see, oh, okay, so there's a producer, there's all of these things, and just see from even my own temperament and my own personality, where would I be suitable? So I advise that, my little piece of advice. So in the TV, if my TV journey really, like I said, I started as a researcher, researching on a daytime, lunchtime show, finding topics, finding guests, the real kind of slog work where you're calling people, trying to get them to come onto the show, people drop you last minute replacements, and all of that. Obviously, you slowly move into the content producing realm, which is then more about the actual scripting of the content. So you conceptualize, obviously, what is the segments going to be about. You go into a little bit of the scripting of the actual segment or actual show. You are still doing the calls and getting guests or whatever the case may be. That will never go away. But you just have more helpers. So moved into that realm. And I think there you work a lot of time. I spent a lot of time there, and I worked really closely with my producers, and I worked closely with my production manager, which was very weird because that's when I really learned, oh, okay, I can dream things around content, but they actually have an impact on finances and what that impact is and how that really plays. When she says, no, we can't shoot that, she's not really being horrible. It's because there's a reason. So when I did that, I was like, no, actually, I think producing, there's something interesting there. Eventually moved into producing and produced some shows for ETV, for SABC, and transitioned quickly then into commissioning editing as well. Purely because I always felt like, there's a bigger world out there. When you're sitting in production, it's a universe, it's a smaller universe, but there's something that governs it, and that's usually broadcast. And that world was also very interesting to me to say, oh, okay, so the people that kind of inform what we create and how we create it and how we should create it, that's an interesting space. So I was very interested in that, transitioned into that, and then went into head of programming. I'm just really being very brief because I don't want to bore you. And then now I'm back at independent producing. So that's my background. So how does all of that, what do I have to say basically today around what is the role of a producer and how does producing really work for reality TV, is that this slide says it all. These are the things that keep me up at night, okay, and during the day. So half the time you are either conceptualizing, so it always starts with a concept. What are we trying to pitch? What do broadcasters want? So it's either you're waiting for the brief to come out or you are creating on your own and hoping to pitch. So the conceptualizing stage can really, take a long time, depending on your skill set as a producer as well. Sometimes some producers aren't creatives. When I say creatives, I mean in the sense that they can't generate the content idea, right? So then they need to partner and collaborate with other people. So now you got to find people, hey guys, let's come together, let's create something. Or if you are generally a person that comes up with ideas, you've still got to collaborate because then there's somebody else, So I always say don't work in a vacuum. So you always have to pull in somebody else, like who's a director or something like that, or a DOP to some degree, just to say, oh, does this make sense? So anyway, you spend a lot of time on conceptualizing. And then I think as a producer, your biggest role is who are we pitching this to? Like, who are we designing it for? Because it's always nice to sit in a boardroom or in a room or whatever and come up with something, but who's going to watch it? Who's going to buy it? Who's interested? So then you've always got to have the landscape of your buyers in mind. So that's your broadcasters, your platform owners, and all of that. So you've got to, so as a producer, you've got to quickly shift into that gear while everybody else fine tunes the concept or the creative of going, okay, cool, I've got to pitch this thing, got to sell it. So in that same vein, while you are creating, so conceptualizing and budgeting, I think go hand in hand. And I think sometimes where people go wrong is that they'll have a great concept, but they haven't really thought how much is it going to cost. And then you always have that awkward moment, and I'm sure Pumla is going to talk about it, I don't know, in pitches where somebody says, oh, I love it. How much is it? And then you're like, oh, I'll have to get a producer. Oh. You know, and that's not a good look. So I always say, if when you are at conceptual stage, and oftentimes my current series director that I work with hates it because I always go, okay, how many shoot days is that? Okay, how many units are you going to need? Because I'm already starting to say, okay, but will a Mzansi Magic afford it? Will a Moja afford it? Will a ETV afford it? Because you can build this beautiful thing, but if no one can afford it in your current climate, it makes no sense, right? So I think budgeting and conceptualizing go hand in hand. Always try and budget at the same time as you're conceptualizing. And then I think, and then you pitch, obviously. The scary thing of standing in a room of people. Okay, we don't go into rooms anymore. So at least, with Teams and Zoom, you kind of feel like, okay, I'm speaking into the internet somewhere. So you pitch, and then they give you feedback. You sell it as hard as you can. And I think as a producer in the pitching stage, your role is to listen very carefully to what the client has to say. Because if they like your concept, they're going to obviously want to mold it for their purposes or for their platform. So you've got to pay attention to the things that they would want. And you've got to, in that moment, be able to say, yes, we can do that for you. Or, you know what, yes, let's unpack it. We'll come back to you. It might have a budget implication. It might not. You know what I mean? So I think when you are in your pitching phase, you won't pitch by yourself. Obviously, as a producer, you pitch with your team. Let your team handle the creative. So when they're pitching the content, let them handle the pitching of the content creative. When you must listen to the business of, okay, the feedback that I got, what the implication does that have? Because oftentimes when you then finish your pitch and you've won it, you've got to unpack and then you've got to deliver. So that's where the producer needs to really go. And then I think obviously then it's the crewing up. You've got to find the good people and you've got to set up a really strong team. I'll speak about some of those key learnings in my next slide, but you've got to crew up properly and then they've got to execute, right? They've got to think. You are also scenario planning at the same time. So yes, there's a plan A, but you've got to have a plan B, C, D, E, F, because ultimately you have to deliver. And you have to deliver on the same piece of money, right? So as a producer, once you've sold it and you've crewed up and you've handed over to your line producer or to your producer, your other producer, you've still got to be in the back of your mind, go, what if something goes wrong? What then do we do, and have those scenarios at hand. And I think this was just, I guess, me talking about a commissioning cycle. If you were not going to be pitching maybe to a commissioning channel or anything like that, you're pitching to financiers, right? So you have to have a finance model. So if you're going to not have it commissioned and ask somebody or maybe finance yourself, you've got to go into the round of saying, okay, how much would it cost me to do this? How much do I need? How do I finance it? Do I bring in the DTI? Do I bring in all of these little things? And then you'd have to figure out that finance model as the producer. And then it's always contracts, right? You've got to contract everybody's schedules, contract everybody according to schedule, because it will not make sense otherwise, because you are running a business as well. So these are the things, guys, that really keep me up at night when I am now working on a show. And it's like my little tick box of sorts. I think this was like one of the greatest definitions, I think, if anyone needs a definition of what a producer does. In a nutshell, you are in, so as much as you know, you will hire well and people will have designated roles. As a producer, you are in every single process of production. Never are you not there. It's just that you might have the first person who's leading the certain thing, like for example, someone who's heading up post or supervising post. So you're not daily supervising post. However, the post-production schedule and keeping to that is important to you. So it's like, you know, as a producer, truly and honestly, I can't say as a producer there are certain areas that you do not oversee and you are not part of. So I thought this was a nice definition for anyone interested. So for me, I think, so what I'm about to go into are just some of my key highlights of things that I always think that people should bear in mind. I think that, you know, in terms of key creatives and crew, you've got to get the right skills on board. Don't duplicate skills, you know. You've got to get people, I think, who are stronger where you are weaker. Because, you know, sometimes I think we always focus just on energies. Oh, I love working with this person. Yeah, great, fantastic. I'm all about energies. But at the end of the day, what is the skill set that you bring that I do not have that will elevate and ensure that we make sure that the concept comes to life, right? So I think really crewing up is very, very important. And I'm not saying energies and team dynamics don't play a role here. But I think skill is also one of the biggest things where, as a producer, you must sit and be able to say, in my skills matrix, okay, I know so-and-so covers this. If anything goes wrong, I know this one would have got it. So just always be clear on when you crew up, you've got the right skills on board. And as a producer, please don't do other people's jobs. If you've hired somebody, trust them to do the job. Or else don't hire people you can't trust. If you can't sleep at night, knowing that somebody is in charge of a certain function, don't hire them. It's just as simple as that. It's got, you know, it's not personal. So I just feel like because you've got so much to oversee as a producer that you cannot, on top of that, be doing other people's jobs, or else it's just pointless, right? You yourself, you don't grow and they don't grow. So I think that's very, very important. In terms of budgeting and schedules, like I said, add conceptualization, which would involve budgeting and scheduling. Walk through the concept step by step, visualize it. Because if you can't see what you are going to pitch, there's no way that you're going to be able to pitch it successfully to somebody else. Like, you need to be able to be so clear. Like, in my head, I'm so obsessive, I think, and even the people that I work with, you know, when you pitch a concept, I can close my eyes and I can see either the opening frame or the whatever. You need to be that detail orientated, because that's when you'll know in the detail of your budget and your scheduling. That's when you will know what resources you need to in order to create whatever vision you have or whatever concept you have. And then also, I think equally I know this is just about producing and not about the other like content division, but I think that's why you need to have really strong, solid content people that can articulate what they want to do. Because when they can't articulate it, and when I say literally, I have a series director who will give you a document where she explains accounts minute by minute what she is shooting. Now that is obsessive, I know, but actually it helps me as a producer, because then I go, oh, okay, so then, okay, this, she shouldn't need this. Okay, this is, she needs something. So visualization is very, 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 very important. And then like I said, go into production with a complete vision of the finished product, because then you can't measure whether you've succeeded or not if you don't have that. You know, you're just going to be continuously, you know, troubleshooting, and then you never really have a big vision of what your end product is. Once you've gotten the contract, you've gotten the commission, or all of that, you would have worked with a contract budget. It's very, very important to move to a working budget. And I think as a producer, that's your first job. The first job is to pick up whatever the commission signed off budget was and actually say, okay, what is the actual true budget? Because sometimes, depending on skill sets, the people that pitched don't necessarily know the how can I put it? The day-to-day running costs, let me put it that way, of a production. So now, as a line producer, you pick up this contracted budget and you're like, oh, but there's no way that we can pay for security at the budgeted amount. So now you've got to rejig things. So I think without a working budget, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. And as a business, you won't make money, which is just then pointless to everything that you're doing. I think one of the biggest common mistakes is also budgeting without a director, a series director, and a DOP included. The reason why I say this is, and I've even said even at contract budget stage, because you will then say, oh no, Pumla, it's only going to cost you R3. Then you come now to working budget and you have your favorite DOP, your favorite director, and they're like, no, I need 7 cameras, I need a slider, I need this. And then all of a sudden it's not R3, it's now R10. You can't go back to client and say, oh, sorry, you know what, I actually made a mistake. So for me, I think to just avoid all of that, just right at the beginning, pull people in and say, look, I haven't gotten the contract yet, but when I get it, I do hope that I can work with you. Let's figure it out. How would you shoot this? What resources would you need? It just helps a lot. So I just think avoid that. Your schedule, like I said right in the beginning, know how you want to shoot it. Have a very firm and tight schedule. However, have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, because this is reality television. Everything and anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And you need to be agile enough in temperament and in thinking to be able to say, how do we move on? Because a client has an expectation for a delivery, and it won't really matter unless it's Corona sometimes. Whether you can deliver or not, you know what I mean, what your challenges were. So you need to think about that. And I think you just need to be very, very agile and have those plan Bs and plan Cs. Like I said, contract everyone according to budget or else it's pointless. Manage the budget, but always have a contingency budget. It's your get out of jail fund. For me, it's that fund that I tell no one about. I hope none of my producers, people or series directors are here, but it's that little bit of money that I keep in case, it rains for 7 days and we can't shoot because it's an exterior shoot and I don't know what else to do. Then I will then maybe pull out that fund and say, okay, guys, this extends us for another week. Look at that, I'm so brilliant, I found money. Meanwhile, you had a little bit of funds. So always be clever to have a little bit of get out of jail fund because you will need it. And also, I think when producing and being a producer of unscripted television, communication on the daily is key because there will be quick turnaround decisions that are made on set. That's why you need to hire people you trust, but you also need to hire people that can communicate, and you need to be able to communicate as a producer. So that is just a no, like you can't skim on that. And always post-production, I know our biggest focus as reality producers is getting it in the can, shooting, but also think about post. So as a producer, you always have to pull back and go, how much footage is coming through the door? Realistically, how much footage can my editors handle? Will I be able to meet TX? So that's why I say hire people that you trust, because of the producer now, while they are shooting, you need to scale back and go, okay, they've come back, they've shot 3 days in a row now, and they've come back with a ratio of X amount of footage. We're only at 24 minutes. So are my people overshooting? Because then you've got to have the conversation with your DOPs and your directors to say, guys, I think you might potentially be overshooting because my editors can't go through all that footage in order to be able to turn the show around. So that's important. Post-production, as much as you might have a supervisor overseeing that, as a producer, you need to get a handle on post-production, because once everyone has finished shooting, there's no going back. Also, post-production is key. You need to know, when do you want to start post-production? Do you start it as soon as they start shooting? Because in reality, you can't reenact. You can't go back and get that scene. So if you say, oh no, I'm going to delay my post to start only a month after shooting, after a month, you might find really shocking footage that you cannot go back and reshoot. So those are very key decisions to make as a producer as to when you want to start your post. And then obviously, goes without saying, but I'll say it, program delivery is critical. You can't, like for me, I always say, like, if you have to deliver at a certain time, you've got to deliver because there is a big broadcast value chain after you. So the world doesn't end. And I think sometimes producers don't realize the world doesn't end when you hand in your program. It's then at Mnet or at SABC or at ETV, wherever, there is a whole set of events that need to now happen after you've handed over. So I think it's always just unfair for producers not to bear that in mind, because then, you know, it also puts your show at a disadvantage because then maybe it won't be marketed on time. I don't know, a whole lot of things. I could go into that and I'll spare you, but just please, I think let's respect the chain and know that after we are done, there's a whole lot of things that need to be done. Obviously, what does success look like? Shooting within schedule and budget. Any producer is like, oh yes, we did it. Or even if you can do it quicker, even better. So I think that's our key kind of marker. Did we shoot within schedule, within budget? And obviously, is everybody happy and healthy, which is great. And then ensuring that the team was able to shoot what you promised the clients. Because really, if you don't do that, the client will take it because they have to just finish the season with you. But trust me, when you step into the pitching room again, they're going to remember that, no, but you were the guys who promised us an egg and you gave us a mango. And that's not what we want. So I think, you know, that's what success looks like. If the client can be like, yes, this is exactly what I thought it would be. So it's kind of good. And then obviously being well received by viewers, because I think we all do it for audiences to enjoy. We don't do it for our 4 friends at home. So I think when audiences can receive the intention behind what you were shooting, like for me, that's always my greatest joy. Like sometimes I don't hold Twitter actually to be the biggest marker of success in terms of content, but I do like to hear what the viewers have to say because it's quite interesting, right? So sometimes when my shows are on, I will go in there and I'll be like, oh my gosh, they got it. That's what we were doing. We were actually thinking that. So it's nice. It's rewarding. And I think I won't go too much into the last bit because I think that's for Pumla, I guess, to give a little bit more insight into. But why do audiences love reality? I think it's a guilty pleasure, guys. Like there's a lot of people, because I mean, we all come, you know, we come from the world of scripted, you know, we've watched soapies, we've watched dramas and whatever. And then comes reality, which has actually very many different genres, FYI. There's high-end reality and then there's other reality. And I think the whole spectrum is a guilty pleasure. People like to say, you know, I don't like watching reality, but I've started to like this. And you just know that it's that thing that they want to come home to and secretively watch or maybe comment on. And I think also beyond that, you know, viewers really feel like there's a personal connection between themselves and the people in the shows. So it's either they identify with those people or they know people like those people, or the subject matter is something that they felt like, oh my gosh, I really feel like this is interesting. So I think there's a true deep personal connection, and they see themselves in what they enjoy to watch or they want to be like. So I think, you know, producing this kind of genre for me is exciting for those reasons. You get to be able to be a mirror, either reflecting back to society. And sometimes it's blemishes, it's things that people don't want to see about themselves, but it's what's happening in society. And then sometimes you just get to celebrate, which is really great. So in essence, I think without having to bore everybody, that's in a nutshell what I can say producing reality TV is about, the experience and some of the key takeouts that I would give. And I mean, I could go on. There's more extensive stuff, but I guess that's what it is. So over to you, Kule. That's my story.
Thank you, viewer. That was amazing. I have so many takeaways. I don't even know where to start. I think the big one was have a get out of jail fund. Like, don't be out here without a get out of jail fund, because whatever can go wrong, like we experienced in the beginning of this webinar, what can go wrong will go wrong. So make sure that you have your working budget like you've never budgeted before. I think people would have seen a great pop-up of a poll that we're running right now. Please do answer that. We also have a question and answer. You don't have to raise your hand. You can just go to the Q&A and type in your question and we will ask it. So here are a few questions from our audiences. Oh, actually, let me just quickly do the intro again because the interwebs was jealous of our progress. So as you know that this is the first Business of Reality TV Masterclass, and we are so excited and we are so grateful to our sponsors for allowing us this opportunity. Thank you to the Gauteng Film Commission and the Department of Sports and Culture. I am Kule, the Love Activist from Rainbow Conscious Creatives, which is a brand storytelling agency that specializes in connecting our clients to their audience through authentic, love-filled storytelling. This whole beautiful setup was inspired by a show that we came up with during lockdown called Love Unlocked. And we thought, okay, because we're in the agency space, we really need to know what the business of reality is about. And this is why we have beautiful people like Vuyo who are here to give us some pearls of wisdom. So here are some questions from our beautiful viewers. Okay. Susan says, hello, I own a production company and have some ideas for TV shows, but I need to connect with producers. How do I go about doing this? With what are producers looking for? That's a good question.
Oh, okay, that's a tricky one because I think producers also, you know, because our industry, as much as it's a thriving industry, is also a very small industry. So I think also ideas, you know, how do I put this? People try not to, producers are very wary of people coming up to them and pitching their ideas to them because you must understand, I mean, ideas are common. So I always say to people, guys, if I've thought of a show and I show idea, so it's not a format, it's an idea, best believe there are 10 other people that have thought of it as well. So your ideas are not unique, they are not exclusive. It's the execution of the idea that will be unique to every person. So as producers, we are sometimes scared, not scared, but we're just reluctant to hear people's ideas because chances are I've thought of the similar thing and now I'm going to be accused, you know, of having taken somebody's idea and whatever the case may be. So I think for me, if it just depends, if I'm not sure that the person was asking the question, whether they work in TV and in what capacity they work in TV, I think if you're already in the industry and you work in TV, or maybe if you don't, try and get into the industry maybe, working in TV. Because then by and large, you will work with a producer that you can trust. And then maybe the two of you will develop a relationship where you guys can potentially help each other with ideas or they can help you with your idea. But I think to just randomly be able to go out and solicit advice from producers is becoming a little bit difficult nowadays because everybody is generating content.
Yeah.
But having said that, you know, there is the IPO. But I mean, if you're an independent person and not necessarily a production house, you know, getting into those structures is very difficult. But and I think with COVID, now that there aren't many events happening, it's very difficult, you know, to meet and in social settings with producers or people in the industry. So you've just got to, I think for me, to also protect your own idea, just, you know, talk to people that you can trust and hopefully they'll lead you to solutions or to some kind of
That's awesome. Okay, we have another question. How much financial knowledge do you need to help you be a successful producer? That's a good one.
So let me tell you, I won't share it with anybody in any public forum, but my matric results, mathematics was terrible. Terrible. Okay? Because I am a words person. I am not a numbers person.
Mm.
However, a trick that I learned, and then, okay, fine, went to university, did all of those things, whatever, started working in TV. When I was doing content producing, was then exposed to budgeting and all of that, I started to realize that actually I don't hate numbers in TV, and I don't know why. And after like thinking about it, I realized because I can tell a story with the numbers. That's why they don't scare me. So for me, budgeting is not a scary process when I do it because I'm telling a story. The number equates to so let's say if it's camera and it's 40,000. I'm like, 40,000 in this instance is 3 camera guys. 3 camera guys are 2 days. So it's 2 days to shoot, let's put it that way, and it's 3 camera guys a day. So that equals to the 14. So I think for me, what I then did is for somebody who doesn't really like numbers or scared of finance, was to realize that actually for budgeting in film, it's about what is the story, what am I telling, and then converting it into numbers, right?
Mhm.
So, but having said that, I think you do have obviously to have some general proficiency in being able to balance numbers. But it's also not your function. That's why you have a production accountant who is the true numbers person, who then says, "Oh, okay, no, you haven't thought of this. Oh no, this doesn't balance." So you have somebody who checks you. I often find as well that line producers are also better numbers people than some producers. So if you get a good line producer, depending how big your budget is, because not all budgets allow for a line producer, but if you get a good line producer, it's usually people that are pretty good in numbers. But I do think ultimately the buck ends with you. So you need to be comfortable in dealing with numbers because you need to be able to double check that, okay, we are where we are supposed to be. So you have to be comfortable. You don't have to be great at it.
Okay. Awesome. And then we have one more question. This is from the Rainbow side. How has COVID changed the way you produce? Okay.
Wow.
Is that a dirty question?
No, it's not. It's fine. It's my current experience. I was in mid-production when, COVID ramped up and we went into second wave. And I am producing a Pan-African show where I need to bring people from 4 other African countries into this country. So as late as, 1 o'clock last night, I was still crunching numbers. So that's how COVID has impacted my life in the sense that you can't produce the same way that you used to. So even if it's a smaller show, you've now got to have an extra layer of consideration of, okay, how do I ensure that everybody is going to be safe and kept safe in order for us to shoot for 3 weeks or for 5 weeks or whatever it may be. So it's changed how our function. We now have to think of the worst things of what if a crew member needs hospitalization? What if I am away and I can't get there logistically? How do we do it? So it's truly and honestly the biggest shakeup, I think, beyond just the digital everything that everyone talks about. I think it's just on set. It has become this cumbersome big thing that we really have to think it through because it's about people's lives and people's health. Yes, it's about shooting and making sure we get the show done, but now it's about people's lives and whether people will survive. You know what I mean? So it's tough. I don't want to lie about it. It's not easy. It's very difficult.
Yeah. Okay, we have one more question actually. A lot of people want to know about pitching. What are the key ingredients to set up a successful pitch? How do you even get into the door to pitch? Sometimes is even the question that people want to find out about.
Can I tell you, I think if you don't have an existing relationship, obviously, with the broadcaster, sending look, here's the thing, and I say this because I've done it. I've done it many times. When I send off an unsolicited proposal through portals and whatever constructs that each broadcaster has, I'm really not afraid because I know that how I want to execute it. You know, I'm not worried. Let me put it so, I'm not worried about somebody taking my idea and whatever. Like I said, ideas are universal. They were probably thinking about it. But what I am selling to the broadcaster is my viewpoint and how I want to execute and what the intention of what I will bring through the show. So I can pitch the same concept with 4 other people and I'll still be confident because I have a particular, or my team and I have a particular viewpoint in which we want to shoot the show. So I always say, in order for you to get known, you've got to put yourself out there. So you've got to submit unsolicited, concepts. Maybe there's some concepts you don't want to do that with, which is great. Then think of other things. Or like, for example, you cannot be a producer or have a production house and not have a bank of concepts. Because then you are sitting and waiting for briefs, which for me doesn't make sense. So continuously develop, and some of them throw them out there, put them out there, so that way, because the broadcasters do look at those unsolicited proposals at different intervals, and they do give feedback in whichever way. So you never know if one day they say, "Oh, actually, you know what? We are looking for new producers. You've got a great particular perspective and point of view. Let's talk." If you don't have that, you would then have to find a producer that maybe does have that, right? And you say to that producer, "I'm not going to send you." That's another thing. Don't email producers your concepts because number one, I think it's rude, and number two, it's not fair. Rather, send an email or call and say, "Hey, producer X, I like your work that you've done. I've got a concept that I think it needs your particular touch," or whatever the case may be. "Can I please have a coffee? I know you might say no, but can I have a coffee with you?" That producer might say yes, and then you have the coffee. Then they will decide, okay, send me a concept. But this thing where people send concepts on email is just wrong. It's wrong on everybody's level, So I think just protect yourself, protect each other, and just send an email of, "Hi, I think I want to work with you." And then that way, that will help you because then that producer potentially has a relationship with Channel already, and then they can work with you and whatever. But having said that, everybody just needs to protect themselves and make concepts.
Okay. So the big one in terms of pitching is, guys, your viewpoint is what you are selling, not necessarily the concept. Got it.
And also, I think in pitches, channels will all repeatedly ask you, so what is it? What is it? What am I seeing? So you have to be clear about what you are selling. That's why I said, always, at concept stage, always know what you are pitching and how you are going to shoot it. That's what helps you win.
I got you. Okay, we have one more question actually from Bongani Mabuza. He asks, does TV have a future given the many platforms and new ways of consuming content online? That's a goodie.
What I always say to people is, guys, TV is one platform. We are content producers and not necessarily TV producers right now. And I think that's how you need to look at yourself. You are platform agnostic. You will produce content for multiple platforms. Television happens to be one of them. Okay, you will have other platforms which are OTT platforms, your Netflixes, your Showmaxes, your whatever. That is another platform. So I don't necessarily think that television is dying. I just think that viewers have more options now as to, like, for example, I can have a DSTV account, I can have a Netflix account, I can have an Amazon account, and I will watch different pieces of content on all different ones, and I can have a Showmax. So it's not to say that I think, we are forsaking one platform over the other. I just think that viewers are being opened up to multiple platforms. And also, you are still living in a country where, a lot of people consume their content through television. And when I say television, I even mean SABC. So people still watch that kind of. Not a lot of people or numbers have moved off, I'm now talking jargon, traditional scheduled television and are sitting on just digital platforms. It's not the case in our country. And I think so there's still a great playing space. I think, in fact, now it just means that producers are going to have to come up with really exciting pieces of content for every platform to be able to market differently. So now I think, with money, we can do great things. So.
With money, we can do great things. And so thank you so much for your. I have so much. We don't have enough time, basically. So question and answers are closed. I hope you guys participated in the poll. And we are going to get into our next speaker. But before I get into our next beautiful speaker, Phumla, I just want to give a background as to what inspired us at Rainbow to host this masterclass. For us, we realized that, first of all, reality TV is the biggest and most beloved platform in South Africa, I would say, because it gives South Africans in particular a mirror for them to see their lives reflected back at them. And so when lockdown happened and Corona happened and we're all sitting at home without work, trying to figure out what we're going to do with our lives, we noticed that a lot of people were looking to connect not just with their loved ones, but were looking for love. A lot of businesses even pivoted to create those kind of experiences for people to really connect and look for love. And so we're like, this would be a great opportunity to connect people who are looking for love. And this is how we came up with Love Unlocked. And Love Unlocked is a gamified Facebook Watch online dating show where Nomuzi Mabena, our connector, connects you, our seeker, on 3 Zoom dates. Have a look at our cute little promo. It's so cute. The Department of Sports, Arts and Culture supported us to be able to even make this sexical thing. Awesome. So for us, this is a huge learning opportunity at Rainbow because we have a more of an agency background. We decided, you know what, let's create a masterclass for us so that we can deliver, the best product, not just for our viewers and our partners, but for our clients as well. And so we've also featured or incorporated gamified features like branded trivia games where our brand partners can brand and curate games to our audiences. And this allows for our audiences and our brand partners to have a share of voice and also possibly influence who our seeker goes on a face-to-face date with, who they choose to go on a socially distanced, safe date with. And hopefully, they find love, they unlock that love. All right, so let us get straight into our next beautiful speaker, Phumla Mkhize. So Phumla represents the channel and client landscape. She is a commissioning editor for a variety of shows on Mzansi Magic. We are excited to hear about, the importance of your production team. I didn't realize how important this was to a broadcaster, for example. What is the concept of your business? As a business, what is your concept? Because you have to run as a business when you become a production. And she's going to talk to us about how to collaborate and open the industry a little bit more. So thank you so much, Phumla, for being with us, and over to you.
Thank you, Kule. Hi, everybody. My name is Phumla Mkhize, and as Kule has said, I'm a commissioning editor. Okay, so Vuyo said that she didn't go to film school. She decided to take another route, which proves that, we can all come from different avenues, and we can all converge. So I went to film school, I went to AFDA, and I studied directing, producing, and writing. Writing was my sub-major, and my double majors were producing and directing. And I was passing producing so effortlessly that my lecturers swayed me to produce, although my love was to direct. But I think that looking back, I'm actually grateful that they did that, because, you know, well, our pass, if for you to pass, you had to get 80%, right, for your majors. So I was scraping in the 82% on directing. So that's why they pushed me to producing, because I was getting like, you know, 96s, 98s. So it was like, okay, that's where you belong, which has been the biggest blessing, to be honest. Vuyo said I should answer the why audiences love reality shows. I wasn't planning to speak about it, but I'm going to start with it. Oh, sorry, I forgot to share my slide. Okay. All right. Okay, so why audiences love reality TV? So in my experience, audiences love reality TV because it's escapism. You know, watching other people's problems is better than dealing with your own. You know, who wants to be stressed, you know? And like personally for me, when I watch TV, it's because I want to feel relaxed, and I want to feel like I want to forget about life, you know? And I think that's that's how it is for most people, you know? And other people just want pure entertainment. They want to laugh, you know, they want to cry with somebody. They really want to go on a journey with somebody else, you know, and experience someone else's life, you know? Okay, and moving back to my original presentation. So I'd like to speak about the importance, or rather the ideal team and the importance thereof. So who you hire is critical in to your project, because of many factors that I'm going to unpack. Don't work with friends unless you can discipline them. If they are going to undermine you, it's not good for business, as they will unwittingly influence others to undermine you too. Then you would lose control of your production. And I can't stress that enough. You know, don't hire friends just to give them work, but make sure that, you know, it's people that know what they're doing, that excel at what they are doing, because it's very important to produce a good product and to deliver a good product. Francis Lawrence, an Australian American director and producer, once said, "I think the movie business and film crews are a bit like the circus, in that we travel around like a pack, and we're a big family for a finite period of time. We roll into some place, cause a bunch of damage, and then roll out." No lies detected there, you know. And I think it is important that crews do somewhat, you know, act and feel like family members, because at the end of the day, you spend most of your time on the field, you know, 12-hour shoot days, you know. So if there's going to be bickering on set, you know, the producer is going to be distracted and on set now solving problems that, you know, she has no business, you know, being involved in, because she should be producing the, you know, a show. And then Stephen Dougray Scott, a Scottish actor, once said, "The success of the film is down to the crew." And that is so true. I'm going to unpack on that point a little bit later, but no one is more important than the other, you know. So in production, you find sometimes that there's this us versus them thing, and it's destructive. And I think that we should all just not entertain it, and we should quash it. It's not good for business. And then moving on to crew, cast, and okay, continuing on crew, and then we'll move later to cast, and then about consuming television. So working conditions aren't always ideal. And work with people who are passionate about their craft, and you'll never feel burdened. But hire the wrong team and you will feel like you are carrying a truck full of hot coal on your bare back. And every producer knows how difficult it is, to produce a TV show. And it's fun, and some people say, oh, it's not brain surgery, but sometimes it does feel like it, So it's very important to make sure that you have the right people in your team, just like a certain specialist doctor ensures that in theater they have all these other specialists who will look after their department. It's the same in the TV industry. You need to have that. Otherwise, you are bound to fail. Excellence. The right team will carry you through on your toughest of days. Their personal passion for excellence will give you a successful product, which can bring in more business. You are entrusted with people's money. Act right. In film school, we were taught never to expect to make money on our first projects, as you need to put all that money on screen in order to earn more work. Don't shortchange yourself. A slightly cheaper crew can be a very expensive mistake. So it's important to ensure that everyone that is on the project is passionate about their particular department, because that way they'll bring in extra. And it's really critical. I cannot stress that point enough, because otherwise you end up with issues that end up becoming your commissioning editor's problems when they shouldn't really be. And if you can make our lives easy, please do. Hire the right people, please. And in film school, it's really one of the places where you are sort of looking for talent, so to speak. So while you're in film school, make sure that you are watching other people. Yes, while you are busy studying and making sure that you are producing or you are doing whatever it is that you need to do for you to pass. But it's important for you to look out for other people in your classmates, who's excelling at what, because it's one day you will think, who can do this? And that person will come to mind and they might just save you. On cast, moving on to cast. Your cast is important on a reality show, and casting the right people, I cannot stress that enough. You have to cast the right people, and you have to walk them through the process, walk them through what it means to be on television, because some of them have never been on TV. They do not know the repercussions of being on TV. So it's very important that you make sure that you manage that relationship. You look after your cast, you nurture them, you manage them. Because unlike actors, most of them really don't know what they're signing up for and how their lives will change afterwards. So it's really, really important, especially if you are having a TV show that follows people around. It's easier when you're producing a once-off episode, reality show. But when you are using a certain group of people and, or a family, and you need to make sure that you follow up, there's season 2, you want a season 2, 3, 4, 5 to 10, and for that to happen, you need to have a good relationship with your cast, and make sure that they always feel protected, they always feel secure, they always feel supported. And consume a lot of TV shows. You can't make TV when you don't watch TV. I cannot stress that enough. If you don't watch TV, what inspires you? Where do you draw inspiration from? How do you can't create in a vacuum, So you surround yourself with other creatives, and you need to make sure that you watch TV so that when you are busy thinking about a concept and you're thinking, and I know that most directors do this, and they come into that, supporting the point that Vuyo made about ensure that in your pitch you have a director, because they are very creative. So sometimes producers will speak to the concept, but directors bring in that extra spice, and you need it, they think differently, you know, and then they will just throw in references and say, if you watch that film and that, you know, this or this other reality show, this is how they did it, and this is how I plan to do it. So it just becomes a nice experience because we walk this journey together, you know, in the pitch. Don't go over budget. And Vuyo said it. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's not good for anyone. Mentorship. There's an African proverb that says, "Indlela ibuzwa kwabaphambili," which means you can learn a lot from those that have experienced life before. There's a lot of knowledge waiting to be shared. Find a mentor. Be a mentor. To senior producers, share the knowledge and your experience. Nobody should die with all that knowledge. To junior producers, you may be brilliant and possibly the next big thing, but you don't know it all. There's always a lot more to be learned. Allow yourself to be teachable. And that doesn't mean you must dumb yourself down. You know, don't play small, you know. Come with your excited self, you know, bring all of you into a project, you know, when you have a mentor, you know, participate fully, walk this journey with them and receive when they teaching you something, take it and be trainable, you know, and make sure that your mentor knows your goal so that they can help you walk that journey and get you to the other side. But it is really important for there to be a mentorship program in the industry, so that we don't find ourselves running out of talent, you know. And like we also mentioned, you know, the fact that in the Q&A that there's a lot of productions now, because whether you're producing for TV or you're producing for a web series, whatever the case is, you know, people need to work, and I mean, work is out there, so they'll be employed. And now, where do we find other people, you know, other crew members? So you need to make sure that you, and this doesn't go just for producers, you know, for every crew member, make sure that you have somebody that you are training up. Collaboration. Seniors and junior producers. For senior producers, there are junior producers looking for experienced companies to co-produce with. Open your doors. Someone else once gave you a shot as well. And Vuyo spoke about the fears of producers and how it is a monster out there, and people can just, you know, come with their ideas and then, you know, turn around tomorrow and say that you stole their idea, which is really understandable because, you know, we are all in the industry. We see it a lot. So my suggestion is it's always important to rather, as a junior producer, make sure that you send your proposal to the broadcasters that you are targeting. Make sure that you get a pitch. And then when you are pitching, if they love your concept, they will advise you to go and find someone to collaborate with. And then you must do your research, you know, make sure that it's the right company for you and, you know, produce. And then for the second meeting, then you will bring them in and, you know, they will then be your support structure in your second pitch. Producers and clients. Once you have been commissioned, the idea is no longer just yours. Allow your client to collaborate with you. It's meant to be a beautiful dance of creating. And that is really important because we shouldn't be at loggerheads trying to push and pull. You know, we are all here with one vision and one goal, and that is to make the best TV, to entertain our viewers, you know. So nobody's trying to, you know, be on a power trip or whatever. You know, we all just want a beautiful show. We all passionate because we are all creatives, you know, in the process. So make sure that you really move with your client. Build a great brand. Align yourself with people whose brand values complement yours. There is a saying that says birds of the same feather flock together. Excellence should always be the order of the day. So many people think that a brand is just a marketing term and it doesn't apply to TV. I mean, it's a business as well, you know, and you are selling a product. Otherwise, we wouldn't have marketers in the TV industry, you know, but we have a whole marketing department to market a product, because at the end of the day, you are creating it for viewers, not necessarily for your family, you know. So the viewers need to buy this product. And the importance of building a brand is so that you know what is important to you. You know your values and what your company stands for. And once you have your company values, you will always make sure that you align yourself with people who think like you know, who believe in what you believe in, you know. Although, yes, it is important to have someone with a different perspective, but at the end of the day, if you align with someone whose values are completely on the other side of your values, there will always be issues and you will always be at loggerheads, and that's the last thing that you need. You know, we all just want to create, produce, and deliver. Know your target market and aim for them. Bullseye. You can't be iffy about who you are targeting with a piece of content. Identify your target market and be unapologetic about it. When you are trying to target everybody, you will miss everybody. People are usually scared to say, my target market is Black. Say it, own it, you know, because if that's what you know and that's who you want to produce for them, you know, and make sure that you are authentic, you know, and if you're going to decide to do something, do it well, you know. On proposals, when you write a proposal, ensure that your proposal is clear. Make sure you make your point in the first 2 or 3 pages. Don't waffle. Use your words with intent. Assume that the person has a lot of proposals to get through and you don't want to miss your moment by only trying to blow them away on your 10th slide or your 10th page. It's like a man proposing to a woman, you know, imagine that. And, you know, their first line is, will you marry me? You know, they don't first go into all this waffling before they ask if you marry them. And the equivalent of a proposal is an elevator pitch, because that's really, you know, your moment to get through the door, because it buys you that opportunity to enter the door. Because if a proposal is not interesting enough, if you're saving, because, you know, some people say, I'm saving it, you know, so that I can blow you away in a pitch, you know. But at the end of the day, you have this one moment in a proposal to grab our attention or my attention, and to make sure that, you know, someone is interested enough for you to come and pitch to them. And presentation or pitching, when you get an opportunity to pitch, ensure that your presentation isn't just words. Make it pictorial. As humans, we are 90% visual beings. So make sure your proposal and presentation answers the who, the what, the where, the when, and the how. Because when you answer all those things, then you have a well-rounded production. And entertain us, you know, when you're in a pitch. If you are not excited about your concept, who's going to be excited about your concept? So be excited about your concept, you know. You know, if you're enjoying it, chances are we're enjoying it too. And I know that nerves can take over, because we're all human, you know, we all understand that it's not easy to stand and speak in front of people. But try and silence your nerves, because in that moment when you are pitching and you are nervous, your nervous energy translates, and now we all end up being nervous for you, you know, instead of concentrating on what it is that you are saying and enjoying it, you know. And last but not least, beware how you treat someone you deem unimportant or not worthy of your time. They may be the key to your success, or at least holding that key. And thank you very much, guys. And over to you, Kule.
Oh, Phumla, I knew it. I knew it. Again, I don't even know how to even round up all that rich information. Do you mind not
Oh,
not
I'm
sharing
sharing.
my books? Okay, so this is what I got from all the amazing nuggets that you gave us. Firstly, when you are pitching, or even before you get to pitch, when you're entering things into the portal, make sure that you blow people away in the first 3 slides. Don't try to save things for the end, because commissioning editors, you guys are reading through these things all day long.
I think I I don't know how to unshare. Are we good?
Wait, I think something.
We didn't practice that part.
Tech will come and save us, don't worry.
Okay, cool.
Tech will come and save us, but I'll continue to round us up. So that's a big one. When you are in the room, make sure that your excitement comes through. You know, you're selling, like what Vuyo said, you're selling your point of view, not just your concept, but your point of view. So we need to infuse you with that excitement. Do not go over budget. Your channel is trusting you with some money. Please act right and deliver on what you promise. Deliver and deliver, deliver. Make sure that your team is solid, like you said, that your team can make or break. And it's something that you guys look into to say, what is the team makeup? Are these people equally yoked? Are they going to create problems in the future for us? You know, because now they're just all friends and buzzy cool kids, and they're not here to work. They're not passionate about their craft. And also that this is a collaboration between channel and the content creators, not a us versus them kind of scenario. So let's learn how to dance. Yes, in the beginning, when you're learning how to dance, it will be tricky. But if that is the mindset that we're here to collaborate and deliver something beautiful to the people who need it, then we are on the right team. Ne? Okay. Perfect. Okay, I have some beautiful questions that some of them have been answered. Do you think it's better to bring on an ad, like to find a brand before we approach a channel for like an advertiser funded program? Or is it better to pitch to you first and then together we go, ooh, this is a great brand that would align with this? Or it depends on the content?
I think it is important. Personally, I think it's important for you to find a brand first if you want an advertiser funded production, because you will send it to us, and if there's no sponsor, then it's going to be like, oh, you know, because it's just easier when you already have someone who's interested.
Okay. All right. And how do those relationships usually work? Because sometimes brands can come on board and then go, this is how we want things to go. This is, you know, and then they're hard selling on your product. How do you mitigate that? Because you're also a brand, you're also a business with business objectives. How do you find that balance? Is it in the brand you pick or the relationship you have with the brand? How do you mitigate that risk of hard selling happening?
It's another beautiful dance. Because because at the end of the day, they have their own objectives on what it is that they want to achieve, and you also have your own objectives in terms of, you know, your client, and you know what it is, what is going to turn them off, and what they're going to be excited by. So what you do is you try to sit in a room and have these discussions prior to even putting an agreement together, because after the agreement, it's already too late. So it's important to make sure that your sponsor understands that, because if the sponsor doesn't understand that, then everyone's going to have a problem. But at the end of the day, if a sponsor insists, you know, you just find a way to make it work.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And then we have some questions from our beautiful audience. Let me see some beautiful questions here. Actually, no, sorry, before I go to our audience, I love you, audience. I'm not ignoring you. I just had I just have some questions on my side. In terms of pitching, right? Okay, you've gone into the bottle, we've blown you away, we've caught your attention. What is I know you said what, where, how is a great format, but what have been the most exciting and memorable pitches that you've been involved in, and what for you made those pitches stand out?
That's a tricky one that I'm not sure I can answer, because I don't want to come across as, having criticism or biased,
Like, what did they do? Like, did they bring fireworks and like drove in a motorbike into the...
Don't joke. We've seen a lot of things.
Okay.
But funny enough, my most favorite one was not even, it was during lockdown, because, when you're pitching through these Zooms or Teams, it can be tricky, but, we all know our strengths and our weaknesses, so this team had this one guy who was so entertaining. Like, we were all laughing, we were all on mute, we were laughing and cracking up. It was divine. So just, I think I remember that because it's something that I really enjoyed, and I was like, you must be the guy on the TV and entertaining, because we were entertained. So we are all creatives and we all want to be entertained. So if you entertain us, chances are you'll be able to entertain the viewers.
Actually, on that, still a bit on pitching, does it up your chances if you pitch with a pilot?
Not necessarily. Because if the concept is not strong, even a pilot won't make it strong. But it can be an advantage, I guess, because sometimes you might not be able to sell, maybe your strength is not selling, but because there are many people who might not be the greatest speakers, but they are the greatest doers. So those people, I guess you can be the judge of what it is that you want. If you feel that you are not strong enough to pitch something, then, and you are stronger at doing, then produce something, create something, and, let us see the vision. Because if you're going to sell, if you don't want to risk losing it, and you're not great at selling, and you just want to show us something, if you can afford it, why not? Can't hurt.
It can't hurt, ne? Okay. All right. So we have a great question here from Jabulano. Jabulani. Any available platforms for mentorships and internships in this field for people seeking for production experience, especially in this COVID time where it's a bit tricky to incorporate newbies with us having to learn on the go to keep up with COVID? Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't know if there are existing platforms per se, but I do think that the IPO should definitely create something like that, because it is important. And otherwise, just knock on doors, you don't have to wait. Knock on doors, someone will eventually say yes and open the door.
And also, yes.
And also, producers are always looking for entry-level people, like your production assistants. So send your CV everywhere. Knock on doors.
Yeah. And also there's the Talent Factory, the DSTV Talent Factory.
Oh,
where
that's
you can start engaging with people in the industry as well. So take a look at that. Yeah. We have another question about many productions are made up of family and friends and crew due to budget constraints. What would be your kind of advice to work the budget in a way that makes sense, where you don't have to be hiring friends and family?
Negotiation is key, and having good relationships with people. If you have good relationships with your industry mates, you don't always be shortchanging people as well, because there are those people who are always on some, I don't have a budget, and people are like, when are you going to have a budget? So be legit. When you don't have budget, you don't, and then negotiate them down. And I mean, our crew members, teams out there are very willing, so if they see your passion and they want to support you, they will. But also it goes to how you treat them, So if you are a douchebag, nobody's going to want to work with you, you know. But if you are a good, you know, that whole point of humility, you know, so people will give what they get, you know. So people will be willing to go to war for you if you treat them well.
Mhm. Okay. And another great question. This is a Brembo one. You know, we have always been passionate about creating platforms or safe spaces for people to fail. It's why we created the 48-hour Form Project, or well, brought the 48-hour Form Project. It's why we're doing this as we speak right now. But mentorship seems to be a difficult one in our industry. For some reason, people feel very precious about the knowledge that they have. And it feels like it's very hard to enter into the industry a lot of the time. So, what would be your advice in terms of navigating the mentor space? I'm a mentee. Yes, I'm knocking on doors, but maybe the way I'm coming across is not very clear and articulate. Can you give some advice on you on the other side who would be mentoring? What would you look for in a mentee?
Passion. Passion, the willingness to learn, because sometimes people say, I want a mentor, but then they also want to be a know-it-all. Hence I said, be teachable. You know, so if someone is teaching you something, take it in, you know, think about it, meditate over it, you know, because at the end of the day, they also speaking from experience, you know. And when you come from, oops, I'm supposed to be in another meeting now.
Okay.
That's fine. So it's important to make sure that brand alignment again, you know, you align yourself with a mentor who's going to guide you, you know, someone who speaks to your spirit as well, because there's no point in someone who might be fragile working for someone who's hardcore, because they might break them, you know. So you need to find the right people, you know, scout, you know, find out what kind of a person they are, because that's also important, because it does end up becoming a personal relationship, you know. So if the energies that we were speaking about are very important.
Are you equally yoked? Okay, one more question before you go, Shem. I know you are needed in the world. We need you.
Don't stress.
This question is from Keith Moodley. What's the average cost per minute for shows that you generally commission? If you can share that, 24 minutes versus 48 minutes.
I don't know if I can share that, but we don't necessarily have cost per minutes, you know. So we're flexible, you know. It's depends on the creative, you know. If we say we have X amount of money and your show is gonna cost R1 million extra, it's a negotiation. And make sure that you negotiate before. If I say I only have 100 rands for you to produce something, and you know that it's going to cost you 200 rands, don't sign just because you want the contract. You know, communicate, negotiate, and that's when you can negotiate. Not after signing the contract. Don't trick people into a marriage that you know. Yes, communicate. Don't be scared of losing an opportunity. If they're interested enough, you know, to want the product, they will negotiate with you, and they will listen, and you know, you come to some agreement, you know, whether it's a matter of saying, okay, we might not have 200 rands, we might have 150, but we have airtime, and you can find somebody who can bring in XYZ, and then, you know, so there's always a way. Just communicate, negotiate, and meet each other halfway.
Oh, negotiate, communicate, and meet each other halfway. That is a perfect way to end off today, our very first Business of Reality TV webinar. Thank you so much, Pumla. We appreciate you. We love all the work that you guys are doing, and we're hopefully we'll be standing in front of you one day, also pitching our
COVID
concept-
dependent.
well, virtually.
Yes.
Pitching our concepts. That is it from us today, guys.
Thank you so
Join
much.
us to yes, thank you. You can, what is it? Mute. Yes, you can mute. Back to you guys who have been watching us today. That was amazing. I hope you guys got a lot out of it. I want to see if I can see what our poll results are. Okay, in the meantime, while we gather up our poll results, tomorrow, be sure to join us tomorrow. We have some great speakers as well. We have Portia Hlubi, who's the director extraordinaire, who's directed some of your favorite shows like Utando Nestembu. And we also, so she'll be talking to us about directing, her personal style of directing. And then we also have a social media specialist, actually, because social media is a form of reality TV. Yeah, so we have Nomazizi Mahlabe, who will be talking to us about how to start building your brand as a reality show, even before you start pitching to broadcasters in different platforms. Here are the results of our polls. Have you ever had a successful pitch or proposal? So 20 people or 40% have said yes, and 60% said no. So hopefully from the great points that we got from both our beautiful speakers, Pumla and Vuyo, we can change that into more 60% yes and 40% no. And then, yeah, I think that's it, guys. It's so hard. It's so hard to say goodbye, but we'll be together tomorrow, I promise. All the technical glitches will be all figured out. As you can see, I had such a sexy backdrop with graphical things, but anyway, the internet said no. Have a beautiful, awesome, amazing day. Lots of love from Rainbow Conscious Creatives, and we will see you again tomorrow.
Love Unlocked is here. This is the dating show that sets you up on 3 Zoom dates, and at the end, hopefully you will find one match. Let them jolo begin.